Hello everyone, this is ThePrussianPrince with another Hearts of Iron 4 and the guns. I was gonna say again, Waking the Tiger template guide. Um, this time I'll be looking at the best heavy tank templates. Previously we looked at the best medium, but let's look at the heavy tank templates now. So first things first, use a heavy tank designer here. So 5% armor, 5% heart attack. That's pretty good. Then we actually tacked all this in infantry, the stuff in support companies, stuff in armor, and yeah, just 41 heavies here. Again, in land doctrine, superior firepower right to left, and that is basically it. So our tank variant, same as the medium one, 5 gun and 2 reliability. Now let me start explaining it. Right, so first things first, why superior firepower? Easy. It's vanilla. So the way equipment reinforcing works, due to lack of soft attack in vanilla, you want superior firepower. That's a given. When using tanks, I mean, I wouldn't really use mobile warfare. Not currently, anyway. Modded might be a different story. Anything else? Let's see. So, variant. Now this is a little bit more difficult because normally on mediums, right? We pretty much always just upgrade the gun on the mediums, but on heavies, we do have another option, which is upgrading armor. If you upgrade armor and your opponent doesn't pierce you on heavies, which could be possible because heavy tanks have more armor than medium, right? So if you upgrade that and you're not getting pierced, all of a sudden you'll be a lot more efficient against the enemy tanks or even infantry. But infantry piercing heavy tanks anyway, even without armor, that's tall order. I mean, even without armor upgrades on the 41 heavy, that is. So still, I would recommend upgrading the gun first over everything else, unless you know, like, there is something specific you are going with the armor upgrades. Now, let's look at the actual templates. So, first template is basically the same as the medium template. 12 heavies, 8 motorized. Probably what I would go with most of the time. You know, you want to be a little bit better on the offense. Want to stack as much soft attack, hard attack as you can, and a decent amount of armor, and well, piercing shouldn't be much of an issue, but you get more armor by like having more heavy tanks here than motorized, which would be good. Um, also, board companies. This is where it gets a little bit tougher because you may actually find out that if you reduce the support companies on heavy tanks, that might bring you over the threshold of not being pierced, in which case it would be worth removing those support companies from your heavy tanks. Because let's take a look at, for example, if we remove the engineer, get basically around 2 armor and 2 piercing for every single support company. So we have 87 armor now, 110 piercing. That's almost like 10 armor difference. Well, actually, that's 87, right? So yeah, basically almost 10 armor difference, which is huge. It could, like, just maybe you don't even need to remove all of them, but remove like 1 or 2. It's definitely worth it to not get pierced, for sure. Now, there's also something else to keep in mind here, which is other possible templates. So you can use the 10-10 here. I don't like this as much, and why I don't like it is because it's more balanced in terms of defense and breakthrough. Normally, I don't like that on tanks. I prefer tanks to be used more for attacking, right? So you should attack more breakthrough, but just make sure that you're not completely trash at defense, which is why 8 motorized is alright, in my opinion. Now, why do I not like this as much as the other one? Is simple, because there's a big drop in armor, drop in piercing, drop in your attack values. There's a drop in hardness, as you can see here. What else is there? A drop in? And a lot of stuff. But there are some benefits as well. As you can see, you get more HP, you get more org, so that is useful. And of course, the template is cheaper. And besides that, you have like more recovery. No, it's actually the same recovery rate, but you do have more org and lower supply use. Could be helpful. Again, template is quite a bit cheaper, but I mean, this is why you'd build this if you were a miner, perhaps, right? So building like 12.8 would be a lot more expensive than just going 10.10 on a miner, right? So 10.10 on a miner is valuable. You could do that because you need to get tanks out fast, and you know, tanks are very expensive. Going 10.10 is all right on a miner. Now, there is something else that you have to keep in mind. There is the mech template. If you find out that you actually do have enough factories, and the issue is that the quality of your tanks isn't good enough, you can replace your motorized with mech. We're looking at just 1940 mech here, so nothing crazy, like 42 or L44, which is insane. That's wise. See that it still gives us a decent boost in terms of defense, a slight boost in breakthrough, and a boost in hardness. So it does make the tank pretty good, to be honest. I mean, better than it already is, basically in every single way, except, or at least even, except there's one thing that it's missing. I mean, that is worse. It's basically supply use and template cost is higher, of course, because it's a mech instead of motorized. Now let's go back to why are we not using heavy SPG? Why are we not using heavy TD? As you may have noticed, we did use heavy TD in the medium tank template guide, but we're not using it here. Why is that? Because heavy tanks in general have more armor and piercing. You don't really need more piercing on heavy tanks from heavy TDs anyway, so heavy TDs don't really serve a role along with heavy tanks. Really shouldn't. I mean, maybe like super specific scenarios that somebody has like super heavy tanks or something, but other than that, like you don't really need to worry about heavy TDs normally. Your heavy tanks will do just fine with that. At piercing pretty much everything, other than super heavy tanks, basically. I mean, you should gun 5 your heavy tanks, right? So that'll help a lot. Now there's something else to talk about. So, like I said, on mediums, heavy TD could be useful because it would add a lot more piercing to your template and even armor. But on heavy tank templates, not really worth it. 99.9% of the cases, basically. Now, anything else? So, same thing. Support companies here. Just like the other one, you could potentially add AA, artillery, or maintenance. Wouldn't really add anything else. Sorry, I'm sick. I don't know if you can actually hear it in my voice, but yeah. Yeah. Oh, of course, heavy SPGs. Why not no heavy SPGs? It's true that it will make the template cheaper, but the thing is, it's even worse to add heavy SPGs to heavy tank templates because the drop in armor and piercing is gonna be felt even worse on heavy tank templates, and on heavy tanks you really care about armor, right? So that could be a very bad choice to add heavy SPGs to heavy tank. In fact, it is a bad choice again in 99.9% of the cases. I can think of like only super specific cases where you'd want to do that, right? Like when you're already pierced and your opponent has, or AI or your multiplayer opponent, but bear in mind I'm mostly talking about multiplayer here when I talk about these template guides. Basically, your opponent is piercing you, and he's a soft target, and he doesn't have any tanks that you have to worry about. That is the only situation I can currently think about when you want heavy SPGs, right? That is the only situation. So again, you're already getting pierced. You cannot make a template that won't get pierced, and the opponent has only soft targets, and there's no danger of fighting enemy tanks. Basically, literally the only reason when you want to add heavy SPGs to heavy tanks. But that'll be really difficult to find a template that will actually pierce you, you know. But yeah, it's definitely possible to make templates like that are still soft, but still pretty difficult to get pierced by infantry in general. Anyway, when you're using heavy tanks, which is why, again, like I already said in this video, 99.9% of the time, don't bother with the heavy SPGs on heavy tanks, or even more so heavy TDs. Like just even on medium tanks, again, like it's just safe to only go for medium tanks and no medium TDs or medium SPGs, like ever. But medium SPGs pretty much never. Medium TDs only if you need the piercing, basically, right? Or like some edge case scenario where it would add some armor. And again, heavy TDs, not medium TDs on medium tanks, because heavy TDs are actually quite a bit better than medium TDs if you think about it. Yeah, that is the template guide. Hope you found it useful. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. Follow me on social media. Enjoy. I'll see you next time.